All right, so I'm going to do some of the problems to help you out. So I have cosine of pi over 12, which I'm going to make that into the cosine of something that I know, um, which would be 4 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12. And the reason that I do that is 4 pi over 12 is pi over 3, and I know that on my unit circle, and 3 pi over 12 is pi over 4, and I know that on my unit circle. So I'm going to use my cosine rule, which says that I'm going to do this is A and this is B. So I'm going to go cosine of pi over 3 times cosine of pi over 4 plus the sine of pi over 3 times the sine of pi over 4. So on my unit circle, I got to remind myself, so I'm going to draw it out real fast. Pi over 3 is right here, so my cosine is 1/2. Pi over 4 is right here, so it's square root of 2 over 2. Plus sine of pi over 3 is square root of 3 over 2. Times sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. So this is going to become square root of 2 over 4 plus this is going to be the square root of 6 over 4. So that equals the square root of 2 plus the square root of 6 over 4. So that's how I'm doing these kinds of problems, is I'm trying to break them down into stuff that I know. So that's why we were able to do this stuff. Or that's why we do this stuff. So the next problem tells me the cosine of 13 pi over 12. So the 12ths that I can use are really 3, 4, or 6. So I'm looking for some combination. Well, or I could do 12 or 8 or 6 or 8. So I'm trying to find some combination that would add up to that or subtract to that. I can go bigger than that, obviously. 2 pi would be 24. So I'm trying to find anything that would add or subtract up to that 16. So I could do 16 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12. The reason that I would do that is 16 pi over 12 is going to be 4 pi over 3. And 3 pi over 12 is going to be pi over 4. So just trying to figure out ways that this would work. So I'm going to do the cosine of 4 pi over 3 times the cosine of pi over 4 plus the sine of 4 pi over 3 times the sine of pi over 4. So again, on my unit circle, help me out. 4 pi over 3. This is 3 pi over 3. 4 pi over 3 is right here. So my cosine is, well, it's really more like right here. My cosine is negative 1/2. Cosine of pi over 4 is going to be square root of 2 over 2. Plus sine of 4 pi over 3 is going to be negative square root of 3 over 2 times sine of pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. So this is going to give me negative square root of 2 over 4 plus negative square root of 6 over 4, which is negative square root of 2 minus square root of 6 over 4. So that's kind of how we're going about these. And hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, so when we get to class we can do that.